Hi everyone, this is Graham Marsh of the Foundry, and we're here today with strength training, physical preparation coach Ian King from Australia, and he's here giving us a seminar today here in London, and we're going to do a little interview and find out a little bit about Ian's thoughts and predictions for the industry, particularly the fitness industry here in England, in the UK, and what lays ahead. So Ian, thanks so much for coming. Thanks very much for coming and sharing your experience and your knowledge with us. I guess I'd like to know, it's your first time here speaking to trainers in the UK. What have you made of it so far?
Well, there's a few things I've noticed. First of all, in the 20 years that I've been coming in and out of the country, you have advanced a long way. Because back in the early 90s, you didn't have an industry really, and you didn't have any education per se. So you've come a long way, and I think the influence of the Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games probably contributed to that. But having said that, the direction that the industry appears to have taken, in my opinion, is a little bit Americanised, and I don't know whether that's necessary, and I don't know whether it's optimal. So the advances that have been made, I'm not sure that they're all the best for the country, the people, and the trainers themselves.
Yeah, interesting point. I think that the information age has changed how we learn about strength training and physical training. Even I find myself talking to you and referring to it as strength training, having even been through the legacy course and changed my mindset and my paradigm about that. I still instinctively talk about it as in strength training. What's your viewpoint on physical qualities and your approach to the physical qualities? Because I know you have a different approach to what many of the coaches out there do.
Well, as you've indicated, the word strength training is often seen as a synonym with physical preparation, and it's an American concept, it's an American influence. Whereas more of the Eastern European influence would be physical preparation, which is the one I tend to reinforce, and I certainly personally don't use the term strength and conditioning coach. I think it sends the wrong message, and I've spoken about and written about that extensively. I think physical preparation coach, whilst not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not the only word you can use, but I think you need to come up with a word that reflects more than your strength and reflects a balance, because strength and conditioning, it just suggests that strength is more important and everything else is bottled after. So the words you use are important. I'm flexible on what you do use, but I do not endorse the historical phenomenon which is strength and conditioning.
Interesting. I know a lot of your work has been based on your athletic experience, and many of the coaches here are very interested in athletic preparation. What would you say are the key differences between physical preparation for the athlete versus physical preparation for the general population, the average client, if you like, that we're all dealing with on a daily basis?
What I've found through trial and error over the years, the material I've developed and the concepts and the approach I've developed to training overlays very effectively with the general population. But where people struggle is coming from the professional perspective, in that what works as a professional with the general population and the approach you take with an athlete is not one and the same. There's a significant difference between the two. And there's a lot of reasons for it, including the real simple one that in sport it's very black and white. It's gold, silver or bronze. You can't bullshit your way to a gold medal. You get the fitness industry, and it's more subjective, more diverse, and so there's a lot of potential for you to get lost in information. Another big difference I find with sport is that true coaching requires a commitment to the athlete that is rarely seen in the personal training industry, because of the trade or the exchange of time and money. Where true coaching is really time intense, and in essence, people can't ever get rich coaching athletes, whereas there's a lot more leverage and marketing potential in personal training. The market's bigger. So my material suits both. Most people gravitate towards personal training, and I personally work predominantly with people who want to master the art of coaching, which is really important in sport. I mean, it's critical in sport. So most of my focus is in sport, as you know, but the methods apply all across.
Interesting, great. One of the things that Ian teaches on his legacy program is a reappraisal and a different approach to the physical qualities, and we've already touched on it a little bit here. If you'd say there's one part of the physical qualities that we're perhaps giving too much weight to and one that we're not giving enough to, which would those be?
So basically I use the Tudor-Bogner influence, which is not in any order of importance: speed, strength, flexibility, endurance. Strength training, without a doubt, is the most over-focused, overrated physical quality in the Western world. Flexibility, without doubt, is the most underrated, least addressed attention in the Western world. And I wrote nearly 20 years ago, I said by 2010 I think flexibility would have come through, but it hasn't. And I've had to revise my projections back, and it's the one thing that the absence of which is really causing damage to people. It's really damaging people. All these dominant paradigms of don't stretch until the end, and things like that, it's causing so much damage. It's not serving anyone at all.
Totally agree. I totally agree. In fact, we see at the Foundry now we're putting such a bigger emphasis on stretching first with our clients, doing a lot of flexibility at the start of the sessions. And if you separate away from what the people on the internet are telling you and just listen to the results that the clients tell you about, everyone says they feel better. They feel better for that. They improve. So I think it's a really positive change, but it does take quite a mental effort, doesn't it?
Well, what I tell people as a professional, you've got to decide: do you want to appease your peers? Do you want to be compliant, trend compliant? Do you want to be conformist, or do you want to do what's best for your client? And they're very different. They're very different. So, majority of people will take the conformist approach. They'll be trend compliant. They want to appease their colleagues. They all want to step out of line, and that's normal for 95% of the population. But if you want to do the best thing for your client, you need to step back and just objectively ask what's best, and disassociate yourself from all outcomes. Don't prejudice the outcome. Drop the attachments to what you think might happen, and just do it. People say, well, what do you think of something? And I say, well, what do you think? Well, they say, well, I haven't actually tried. I say, guess what? Try it.
There you go.
Don't tell me.
Great advice.
Because the same thing with the client. If you say, client, do this, and you don't say anything and don't give them any values to it, they'll give you their honest feedback, and as you found out, they're reporting very positively on a training protocol that is currently politically incorrect and non-trend compliant.
Interesting. Now I've got 2, maybe 3 quick more questions for you. One which I have to ask because, frankly, this is such a crazy industry at the minute. If I didn't ask you, I would have to conform to some trend to ask you this. What's your take on aerobic training? Can you give us in a nutshell the Ian King philosophy on aerobic training, please?
What I did in the late 1980s, because the 80s were really dominated by aerobic training, and I was the first one that said, listen, hold it. Aerobic base is a myth. There is no science, and it's ineffective, and it doesn't do half the things you say you're going to do. So I was teaching that fairly extensively through the late 80s and early 90s. What happened from then, and then there was an overreaction there, and that's the content that I teach about, the overreaction and underreaction, and people started doing no aerobic training at all. So I said, listen, let's just keep it in context, and I had to actually pull it back in. So it is a physical quality, it is a place, it has a role to play. The question is, with each person you work with, what is the context for that person? So don't make any assumptions. Treat the individual, don't underdo it, don't overdo it. I don't know the answer for each of your clients, but I do know that you need to get away from the dominant paradigms because they overreact, underreact, etc. Don't throw it out, don't overdo it. Find the happy balance.
Yeah, that's really interesting. One other point, couple of other quick things. Loading and volume, 2 of the big things I noticed when I went through the legacy program and looked at the 2 of the units I found required quite a paradigm shift. Loading and having the strength to, mental strength and emotional strength to realise that it's not about how much load is lifted in the exercise, and to some extent linked with volume, it's not about how much someone can do in order to get results. Can you briefly give us your philosophy on those 2 points?
Capable versus optimal. I came up with the saying that you might be capable of doing it, but is it optimal? And in essence, the loading has been overrated, especially during the 90s when strength training felt how wow, we're being recognised as a legitimate activity, so let's just go crazy. Loading was overrated, and that's why I introduced the bodyweight concept exercises, and I developed them through the 90s and released them in the late 90s. But initially people didn't like my concept. I said, listen, loading's overrated, and you don't need external loading until you've confirmed that the body weight is no longer enough. So first it was rejected, and then it was over-embraced, and then it's gone the other direction where in this inverted commas functional training movement, hey, well, that might well be dead now, there'll be a new trend coming, where people just started doing all sorts of crazy 101 ways to do an exercise with no loading involved, and that's not the answer either. So loading, there's a balance, but the bottom line is this: never do more than you need to do to get a result. Find the minimum amount you need to do to get the most result. Because it's about efficiency. Training is about efficiency. We all have finite reserves. We have finite time, we have finite energy, both in a day, a week, and in a lifetime. So if you milk the body too much, you will shorten their energy for long term. So for me, training is about being efficient, not finding how much I can do. It's optimal, not capable.
Yeah, great. Capable versus optimal is probably a brilliant little golden nugget there for anyone who watches this, if you leave with nothing else. Final thing, you are perhaps not a strong marketer of your educational offerings, but speaking to someone who's experienced them and feels they're very valuable, would you give us a quick summary on the legacy course and what people doing the legacy course can expect? Because we know that people want that gratification, right, when they sign up for a course and they want to know what's coming. And can you tell us a little bit about where they can go to find out information on the internet about what you offer?
Well, as you said, I'm going to write a book one day. I'll write a chapter. Oops, I forgot to market. One of the things that really dissonates me from marketing is I see the activity, the way they're conducted in the industry, and the lies and deceit that go into it, and I just don't want to play in the same sandpit. But over and above that, the legacy course is our entry course in our educational program, and it's designed to give people an insight into the innovations and the concept that I've put in the market. I've put more innovations into the market that have changed the way the world trains than any other single person in modern history. And the aim of the legacy course is just to give you an exposure to that. And when you go through it, you'll say, wow, I didn't realise that that's where it came from, etc., etc. Now, the legacy course is the most bang for buck program on the planet. We don't charge a lot, and you get audio, video, text, etc. It's dense. There's 30 units, and it's limited to my innovation. So it gives you insights into the things that I introduce to the market, and then you'll be able to see where they came from. So it gives you the insight. One of the things that's missing is the intent. It talks about the intent. It talks about the origin of the ideas. Of course, most people who've got exposed to these ideas have got them from someone who's copied them but hasn't understood them. And they're getting a diluted version and hasn't created the outcome that I believe it can. So if you go back to the source, and that's what the legacy course is, I believe you get the intent and it has more impact on other people. So it's a power-packed 30 units approximately, and there's more value in that, and I believe than any other single course that people can take, and we undercharge on it. And it's just a stepping stone. It's an introduction for them to progress into our other educational programs.
Absolutely. So that's Ian King, probably one of the most innovative and certainly the most influential physical preparation coaches of the past 30 years. If you want to find out more about Ian's work, you can visit his website. It's www.kingsports.net, and we'll pop a link up on the video for that. And if you want to find out more about what we offer at the Foundry, it's www.foundryfit.co.uk. And thanks very much, Ian. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Grant.